painting hair is easy? Said no artist ever. Don't worry, I got you. Let's break it down step by step. Step 1. Picking the right tool. Look, I know some artists say they can draw with anything, even a fork, but let's make life a little easier by picking the right tools. For me, I like a brush with personality, one with a little texture and size pressure sensitivity. Oh, and if it has a bit of color jitter, even better, because why not make every stroke a little surprise? It makes the hair look alive and interesting. Step 2. Filling the base color. So, for this step, I like to use the brush, not the filling tools, because the brush strokes makes it way more interesting and have a bit of texture. Oh, and don't worry about the edges yet, we are gonna clean that up later. Step 3. Adding shadows. Before going straight to adding our first brush stroke, how about we figure out the light source, its direction and its color. In this case, the light is coming from above and a little to the front, and I want the light to be a little warm, something like orangey yellow maybe. So in this case, the shadows need to be cooler, because shadows will always be the opposite temperature of whatever your light is. For example, here, I picked the base hair color and added a bit of purple, shifting it slightly towards the blue on the color wheel. And when placing shadows, don't just think of hair as strands, each on its own. Instead, think of it as big flowing ribbons or chunky layers. That way the shading will make more sense. Now comes the magic moment. Step 4. Adding highlights. Since we are using a warm color as a light source, we will be shifting the hair color a bit toward the orange for a nice warm glow. To apply highlights, I lightly sketch in some bright strokes in the lit areas, then erase parts of them in a soft curved shape. This little trick makes the hair look like it's bending and curving naturally. But be careful, we don't want harsh blocky highlights, so we only blend some parts here and there to create smooth transitions. Watch out for these common hair mistakes. One of the biggest mistakes I see artists do all the time when painting hair is overblending everything. If you blend too much, you lose the structure of the hair and it ends up looking like a smooth wig of natural strands. Another mistake is making every single strand visible. That's just too much detail. Instead, focus on bundles of hair first, then add a few key strands to break it up. Remember, hair is a balance between order and chaos. An interesting pro tip. If you want certain areas to stand out, like where the hair parts apart, you can make the contrast stronger by bringing the highlights and shadows closer together. That will create a sharp, crisp change in direction that guides the eye of the viewer right to the spot. Oh, and remember, hair strands usually flow together in bundles, so don't just scatter random lines everywhere. Controlled chaos is the key. Step number 5 is loose strands and realism. We are almost at the finish line here, but first, one last secret to making hair look realistic. I like to add a top layer and pick a color from my favorite parts of the hair so far. Then I sketch random strands here and there, especially around the bangs and the face, to make it flow naturally. I also add a few loose strands at the edges. This helps break up the silhouette and makes the hair feel less blocky. One final super important hair rule, it is that you should never forget hair can only be straight, wavy, or curly, with all the degrees in between. But within one hairstyle of one person, the hair should have the same nature all over the head. If you mix curly, straight, and wavy hair sections randomly, the hair will look weird and unnatural. Unless, of course, you are doing it intentionally for a specific style. For example, some girls straighten their bangs but leave the back curly, and that's deliberate styling choice. But if you just mix random textures without a reason, it won't look right. So stick to one consistent texture per hairstyle. Would you like to dive deeper into the details of these different hair types? The straight, the wavy, and the curly? Subscribe and stay tuned for next week's videos. I will be breaking down each hair type step by step, so you can master them all. See you next time!